Start the meeting, everybody. Welcome. Well, let's start tonight with some introductions since we have some new faces and returning faces. Paul, do you want to start?
Sure. Paul Kleinman. I am the liaison from the Select Board.
And chair of the select.
And chair of the Select Board.
And former liaison.
Former liaison and also former planning board member. So I'm back to my home base.
All right, welcome back.
Glenn Greenwood, town planner.
Doug Marino, I've been on the board since March of last year, and RPC.
And new executive.
Yes, I don't know if it's official yet, but we're working on making it official.
Yep. Congratulations. Doug Finnan, planning board, RPC.
Brett Ramsdale, new member of the planning board.
Steph Kiza, this is my second term on the planning board, and I'm also part of the RPC Technical Advisory Committee.
And I'm Kristen Aldred, second term, chair of the board, and I'm a, alternate for the RPC, which is the Rockingham Planning Commission.
Mark Kennedy, Land Use Administrator for the Town of Brentwood and alternate.
All right.
Alternates.
Yes. Liz Faria, alternate. And Jim.
Congratulations.
All right, Doug.
So would now be an appropriate time to offer a motion to renominate you as chair? I know that
Second.
Yeah, I know that Bruce wasn't able to be here tonight, but he did weigh in to Doug, not to me, to Doug Finnan. But yeah, so I'll make that motion if now's the appropriate time.
Yes.
Sure. All right. Thank you. Discussion? No. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll also make a motion to appoint Steph as vice chair.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Bruce also was in favor.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
He sent his blessing.
At 78-degree weather.
Don't want to hear that. I still have one little pile of snow in my yard. Okay, we do not have any hearings tonight, but we do have a couple of issues, and we will start with an issue.
So what you're looking at right now is a picture of River Run development. And I was out there, full disclosure, on Saturday. And I went back out there on Tuesday and took some pictures. I'll go back.
And will you explain on the map where the,
Yeah, that's what I had that.
Pictures are-
I'll show you the pictures, then I'll bring that schematic back up.
Okay.
It's just gonna take a second for the picture to load. So what you see here is a culvert, a drainage culvert right here. And then we have that plastic pipe.
that's problem one. Problem two is it's not at all on the plan. So it's
Correct.
not only the
Correct.
wrong material, it's.
Yeah, I brought out on site my full set of plans that we have. And I could not find that drainage feature on the plan.
And it's in the right of way, right, next to the road.
I would say that is definitely within the right of way. You can see right there the edge of the plastic pipe,
Yeah.
and it obviously runs underground to this drainage feature here.
And what was the material that was incorrect? I missed
The plastic pipe.
Supposed to be cement.
It's concrete.
Gotcha.
That's clearly plastic pipe. All the other drainage features that I observed, some of them were plastic pipe, but they were out of the right of way. Beyond doubt, out of the right of way. And you can use plastic pipe on your own personal property. Our ordinances only dictate what's in the right of way, what's used for drainage.
And that road's tarred currently?
Correct.
And so it may be, it wasn't on the plan, they
Mhm.
added it later and just put in whatever they,
Observe and report.
yeah, okay.
That's what I'm
So
doing,
problem-
observing and reporting.
So problem 3 is, we only know about this because Mark happened to go out there, and we're not sure what the procedures are for TEC to be checking in and following up. And so the first thing you have in your packet is our contract with TEC, which includes perform independent observation and monitoring of construction activity as necessary to ensure compliance with conditions of approval, regulations, ordinances. So TEC is coming to second meeting in April
Correct.
we already wanted to talk to them about some other things, so we can ask them about this. But did you reach out to them to ask them to go out and look at it?
I wanted to bring it to your attention first before I did anything. If that's what you'd like me to do, then we can do that.
Who's the general out there? The general contractor?
I did meet a few people while I was there, walking around. I didn't get a card from him, and his name escapes me at the moment.
Can you show us on the map where this is?
Yeah, sure.
And there was nothing on the plan about, we never had a request to use something different.
Did you double check this information, Glenn?
Yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
It's approximately right here where my cursor is.
So that's the first little cul-de-sac.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, they're only
Road.
being constructed. I know 17 is there, 21 is there. None of what you're seeing now is anywhere near close to construction.
Yeah, I went out a couple weeks and I was surprised.
Yeah, here's the break. So
And the purpose of concrete in the right-of-way is? Because it's in the right-of-way.
Because eventually it becomes our responsibility.
Right.
So,
I believe Mr.
The purpose of concrete in the right-of-way is durability, because ultimately it's something that will be taking over.
And we had a little discussion in a previous meeting because technology has changed and maybe this is something we should revisit. But right now, that's not the standard and they shouldn't have installed that. Yeah, but it's kind of, for now, that's kind of moot because they didn't have permission to do it.
I'm
so.
not an engineer and I don't,
Stuff-
it is not correct to our ordinances,
Right.
but then that's where I will leave it.
Yeah.
But that drainage feature is not on the plan. And that drainage feature should be on the plan, and it's not. Now,
Yeah,
what you're looking at, these electronic plan sets that I have are not nearly as complete as the plan sets that I have in my office.
To make a change like that, the contractor would have to come before the planning board for that, correct?
Could I take a peek at one of those?
I sent you an email earlier. I don't know if you saw it. I have 2 sets of those complete plans. I'd be more than happy to give you one if you could possibly return it. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
definitely.
I would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
so next step is to ask TEC to go out and take a look and basically confirm what you guys said, that they should have been doing that.
Who approves their invoices? Is it Mark or Glenn or you?
The TEC's invoice as far as payment,
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, how many hours they bill for during construction? Like, how often are they on site?
Oh, good question.
since I've acquired the position, things have changed a bit with payment scheduling, and it's been a bit of a, I don't want to say issue, a challenge. payments have been taken out of my hands, I take a check and then submit a check, and then that goes off to another department.
Okay.
So what I've started doing now on applications that I'm accepting, I'm starting a payment schedule or a graph, a chart. So I can keep track of the money that's coming in, and then the invoices, I've asked the invoices to come to me. I don't pay anything, I don't write checks or anything like that, but I'm keeping track of the invoice because before the Mylar gets recorded, I need to know whether this applicant owes me money.
Mm-hmm.
And I also need to know if I owe the applicant money. So I've started creating a graph to chart that money as it comes in and out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any information prior to this, to me being here.
Yeah.
So I could definitely go back and look at that information if you want.
No, if it was like something you knew offhand, I'm just curious because their contract doesn't really spell out any assumptions of like, you know, it is assumed they will visit the site.
Yeah,
X
once a
amount of
week
times.
or-
pretty vague.
I think that's part of the disconnect, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that the planning board really needs to nail down is we're not getting reports. Even when you go out to the site, I don't even know if you've been out there.
Yeah, we should request reports. That's
That's
industry
part of the
standard,
disconnect,
yeah.
you know, and holding
although
things
someone will
accountable.
have to review them.
How can you hold somebody accountable if you don't even know if they visited the site yet? Has he even gone out there?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, and if we're not giving him direction, like we want you to go out every 6 weeks or whatever it might be.
Right.
Has there ever been a standard before? I mean, all projects are so different.
They're all different, but that it is pretty much assumed that our town engineer understands the schedule with which he should adhere to watch the construction of a road. There are certain processes that take
Milestones,
place
yeah.
and milestones in the development of the roadway, and that's not mysterious to an engineer.
But that requires them maintaining communication with the developer.
Yes.
And knowing what that schedule is.
And
I
the
mean,
planning board.
And
yeah.
contract, like, you know, I'm sure these contractors are great, but I will say it has been known that contractors may cut corners if no one is there observing them.
Mhm.
you
And
know.
that's why, even as a board member, I would drive out there and look at these things.
Yeah.
But
They-
if they do that, they're subject to our engineer saying, I need to see it now.
Mhm.
Tear it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Because our inspection process is our inspection process. And it is outlined in our regulations, and it is the responsibility of our town engineer.
Mhm.
And this is it's a little trickier than the other one because there were a couple different things written on the plan, but this one's pretty clear cut that it's,
And this is showing something that wasn't even approved.
yeah.
So don't we have
Glenn,
enough
can-
evidence without TEC going out there to put them on notice, to put
Well,
the developer on notice?
part of it is we also, I'll say we have a challenge with TEC because another issue came up a few weeks ago that they missed. So we had already invited them to come in and talk to us, and we wanted to talk
On this
about
project?
on a different
No, a
project.
different project.
So we want to talk about their contract. It seems like we need more detail in here about what the expectations are. So I think using this as another way to bring them out and talk about what they should be doing.
I mean, I would encourage any board member to drive into any development and take a look for yourself. I mean, I think that's a good habit to have,
Mhm.
personally.
There's a couple people that cannot be heard at home, probably, and one is Glenn and one is you, Kristen.
Oh,
We
sorry.
need, Glenn's expertise is vast, but often you can't hear it at home.
Okay, so, did you have something?
Me?
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
Would you step up to the microphone? I apologize. There's a button right up the top of it. And that one is not
Tim, you can
really
use this.
sensitive.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Just introduce yourself, even though we know you.
Jimmy showed 125.
You here as select board or you?
No, I'm speaking privately, thank you. The question that I would have is, do you have a backup plan in case I mean, it seems like this TEC is in default of their contract. Do you have a backup plan in case? That would be my question.
Yeah, I don't know if they're in default, but we did talk about last time. We've talked a little bit about if we should go out to bid, if we should start looking at other firms, but we wanted to give them a chance to come in and
Yeah.
talk through some of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just as a reminder, his contract is up or almost up.
Okay.
Looking at the date. So if a renegotiation is going to happen, now would be the time.
Okay. Do you know the date? Well, is it on here?
Not after, do you-
It might have been the end of January,
Okay.
so we're right there at the,
Okay.
Are we going to make them aware prior to the 17th of this issue as well?
I will contact, with your approval, I will contact Chris and I will send him these pictures and I'll end up having a conversation with him.
I think it'll be more productive rather than like kind of springing it on.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can reach out to him too. Like, I think you should reach out to him specifically about
Well, I've been including,
this. Yeah, I know you've been copying me on stuff, but maybe I can just have a conversation with him too, so we're not ambushing him, but,
I just
okay.
want to be proactive about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of, so I still think they need to go out there, but we do have
100%.
evidence. What would be the next step in terms of reaching out to the developer to tell them that?
yeah,
They're out
once
of
we have the
compliance.
discussion with our engineer, and get a handle on why the developer has placed something that isn't on the plan, the issue is whether that's really necessary, and if it is necessary, and it would be something they determined they needed for stormwater management, how does it impact the overall plan that we have on the site?
Yeah,
Because they shouldn't be making those, it's not unusual to make modifications to construction on site during the process, but it's something that's worked through with the engineer, and not unilaterally.
yeah,
Yeah.
And if it rises to a level that the engineer feels the planning board should reconsider what the approvals were, then it certainly shouldn't be put on the ground until that discussion has happened.
But do we need to wait for that? Can't we just issue notice that they're not in compliance at this point and to call?
Well, we can
Call them in.
certainly make contact with the construction firm out there and let them know that this seems to be something that wasn't approved.
Yeah, the general and the developer.
And the developer,
And
sure.
let them know. I mean, it's clear as day, right?
my only concern
Well-
after you explaining that is, was there a conversation with TEC that we're not aware of?
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
So
Which
there are-
would be bad, but we
Right.
should
But
know.
we should know that before we go
Yeah.
Yeah,
too
but
much
it-
further.
Yeah,
This is why we pay engineers.
Correct,
This is why we pay
Why
them.
we
We
have a
shouldn't
town-
have this argument.
It's why
Our
we have a
engineer
town
should be
engineer.
having this argument.
correct.
He's the engineer. He can definitely know what's not on the, that's
Yeah.
why we hire them.
yeah.
But I'm assuming
Okay.
we would have heard from the engineer if, right? I mean, so
One would think.
it's a reasonable assumption,
Well,
so.
That's, yeah, we're in,
That
the
is a reasonable assumption.
not, yeah.
mhm.
Okay. Anything else on that?
I mean, other than, do you want to issue a letter to go out?
I would wait till Chris
I
goes
wanna
out, looks at it
confirm
and
that-
confirms it and
And
does his
we
job.
confirm that he hasn't had a conversation with them about it
Okay.
without
Can
us
Can that happen?
quickly.
Yeah,
Like tomorrow, I will send out that email.
perfect.
Thank you. Okay, everybody got their handbook update?
Mark, are you going to CC everybody on that, the letter?
Well, if we CC everybody, does that then become a public?
Yeah.
If you respond.
I will definitely send the response to you.
But that's a good reminder for everybody. If you do get an email with multiple board members on it, don't reply all, because then that becomes,
A de facto meeting.
yes, thank you. Okay, sign ordinance update. So you've made some more changes. This, sorry, Brett, you can stop us anytime if we're just skipping over stuff and if you want some background on something. So we started talking about updating our sign ordinance because a business had been seeking a variance and it became a little bit of an issue. And the question was, is our ordinance out of date? Should it be updated? So Glenn's been working with a couple people on that. So what's the latest?
Well, the latest is that as a result of the last workshop we had, last meeting, there were 2 additional concepts that we said we should discuss for whether or not we wanted to go forward. One was having some sort of turn-off time for illuminated signs. And so, as you can see, there's been an addition here that says all illuminated signs will be turned off at 10 p.m. And I've added here also, and turned on no earlier than 5 a.m. The more I looked at that day, if they're turned off at 10, they're likely not turning them on for an hour, during daylight savings time at 5 o'clock on 125 to capture anybody, because they're not going to be open. So it's likely that we don't need that section, but that's something we can discuss when we hold the public hearing.
Okay.
And then the last proposal is one that just adds a requirement that for new signage, they also include the street address in that signage, but actually an additional statement that says adding that street address doesn't count against your square footage for your sign, because it's actually doing a public service to the town.
Mm.
And if they make it an appropriate size to be seen going the speed you are on 125, it could actually have to be quite a bit of signage. And there's no reason to penalize them for that, since what they're doing is actually a public service.
Yeah.
And it's not really signage as much as information.
Well, I guess, so that's for the public, not like the fire department. It's for the public. So if you're looking for.
When you're driving down and you know that you did your Google search and said it was 156 Route 125, and you go by 30 signs without any ability to know what number you are right now, it's pretty frustrating.
You're going too fast, Glenn.
I don't go too fast anymore in Brentwood. And you notice I said in Brentwood.
Anymore.
Because I know too many police officers and it's too humiliating for them to stop me, so.
Doug?
Just a couple thoughts on that, because I really, what Glenn just said resonates with me a lot, and especially with having the numbers clear. Because in addition to being frustrating, I also worry about emergency vehicles, especially if there's an emergency and it's vehicles coming from out of town. Maybe if our departments need some backup and you have out of town fire departments or police departments coming in and they're having a hard time figuring out where the heck the emergency is. It can be dangerous. And the other thing that I like about the idea of having some regulations around the illuminated signs during the night. I mean, I'd be curious to, during the public hearing process, to hear from business owners, because if I owned a business on 125 that had an illuminated sign, I wouldn't want that sign to be illuminated during non-business hours, because then you'd have people mistakenly maybe turning into the parking lot, or maybe people going in there for, who knows what reason during non-business hours. So during the public hearing process, I'd be very interested in engaging some of the businesses along 125 to see how they feel about that. But I would suspect that a lot of business owners might view it the same way, but I'd be interested to learn more from them.
I have a question. Do we know, or do we have like a handle on how many that are most illuminated after hours?
Are most illuminated after hours? I really don't know.
Yeah.
That's going to be my
Perhaps
suggestion. It's
Mr.
not something that I,
Michaud could say.
Yeah, is yours, Jim? Oh, it does go all night.
Would it be a disadvantage to have it turned off during closed hours?
if we're going to answer, we need to come to the microphone. I apologize.
Just curious.
Jim Michaud again. speaking as a private citizen, I believe I look at it as marketing, as advertising. So I like my sign lit through the night, and also for that reason that if something were to happen or someone was trying to get me. But there are times that I have businesses on the property that, you know, people come in and bring a trailer back, for example, after, you know, there's no really set time. So for me, it's advantageous to have it lit.
So people can find it. It's the same.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
Plus, it's a safety, you know, it's more safe to have it lit.
I'm just
Okay.
wondering if it would be a disadvantage to have the signs turned off. I mean, I agree with Jim that it's a marketing tool, but not only that, it's a business area. So, you know, if you're lit, not driving, of course, but if the signs are lit, it could add for public safety and just advertising in general.
Well, here's the thought.
Mhm.
We have an economic development committee.
Yep.
And I assume they have a mailing list for the businesses on 125?
We do.
They have, yeah,
Why would we not have,
83.
why would we not extend an invitation to them for this particular public hearing?
Yep. Excellent idea.
I mean,
Yeah.
it seems crazy not to do that.
Yep.
And only work off anecdotal information.
Mhm.
It's gonna affect everybody along that corridor.
Yep.
Let's hear what they really have to say.
Jillian has that information.
is it just 125 or it's 27?
It would be 27 as well. Be 20, the signs on 27 are many less.
Yeah.
Although I think like the sign guy, I think his are illuminated past working hours. You don't go on 27 very often at night, but
I think Corning's new sign is illuminated.
There's also Pine Road.
The only thing that I would add to that is if I can, if you're gonna have an illuminated sign, I think it really needs to be important that it's not shining in the direction of, you know, oncoming traffic, because there
Yeah.
are
Right.
definitely issues in town with that happening.
Mhm.
And that's dangerous.
Is that something, I know you're speaking as a private citizen, but that's something we've talked about too, about some of the security lighting along 125 being blinding.
Mhm.
Terrible.
If that's something that the select board might address. Because we've had, this is a digression, but we've had plans approved in the last few years that were supposed to be downlit, and they installed lighting facing out.
And some of that
And-
is, the property owner, but some of it is actually even, you know, Eversource or whoever puts up the light on the pole.
Mm.
Sometimes, I mean, they're pretty good about that, but there are pole lights that are very intrusive
Yeah.
to oncoming traffic, which
Yeah.
is dangerous.
Yeah, the
Yes.
one near where I am, it's the intersection of 125 and South.
Me too,
Yeah,
all
the auto,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tough one at night. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even, so that's both, right?
Right.
Because I was there the other night. So you have one on the pole that's bad, and you have his, on his building, that if you're trying to exit and cross over 125 or turn onto 125
Yeah.
from South Road East,
Yeah.
it's
Right in your
blinding.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Eversource
Okay.
one's a killer because you don't even know that that the turn's there unless you help put the turn in.
So
I've
we'll-
spoken in
Okay,
in
yeah.
a private, capacity with that business owner, and I know they did take action in terms of, because it had been going out to move those lights down. I don't know if there's any more that
Anymore
they're
to do.
able to
Yeah.
do. at
Yeah, the
this
bad one went now.
There's other ones up and down 125 too. So, so we can schedule a public hearing on this. Were there any other parts of this that you guys wanted to discuss before we move on? And
I just want to say I agree with Glenn that I think it makes a lot of sense to reach out to the businesses
Mhm.
and engage them.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so we'll schedule a public hearing. We will, can you ask Jillian, Mark, about sending the public hearing notice to that list?
The embarrassing thing is, I I couldn't even tell you if my business was illuminated or not.
It is.
Paul,
We'll all
it
be
is,
looking.
yeah, it
We'll all
is,
be
because I have the list somewhere, I'll look for it.
Um,
And your telephone number.
is that all right? I think they have an email list. I think
There's
we have
no
an email.
escape.
Yeah, I'll take care of that. We're doing it by general mail, so.
Oh, like mail. I think
Snail
they have. an
Well, if you want to do certified mail,
email. No, I
that-
just
that
meant.
could be
There's no-
thousands of
there's no
dollars.
requirement that we do certified mail to
Right.
everyone, but either email or a snail mail letter that's not
Yeah.
certified.
Mhm.
I think they have emails, but I'm not sure.
Oh, if they,
Because there's owners and then there's the businesses.
right,
So-
right.
Not the same, yeah.
And maybe put it on our website.
What I'll do is I will find this list, see what's available, and contact you by email,
Okay,
and we'll figure something out.
sounds good.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, thanks for working on that. NHMA article is the next thing in your packet. So thank you, Mark, for sharing this. This is good reminders for everybody about participating in boards. Is there anything you wanted to highlight?
No, I found this article in the NHMA magazine. I found it useful and helpful, and I thought that you might as well, that you would find it helpful as well. And it's just a simple reminder to the new and to the old.
Oh, don't look at me.
Yeah, don't say
It's worth a read.
Say old, and he
Well,
looked at me right
I'm
away.
sorry, the oldest person here looking at you should not make you feel poorly.
All right.
To the seasoned.
There's also, if you guys haven't seen before, there's a YouTube channel with all the past planning webinars from New Hampshire Planning Association. There is a planning board guidebook, like 100 or so page guidebook. And there's, then you should start getting, is it not MA, PA? The planning group that has all the webinars.
Oh, yeah, the New Hampshire Planners Association.
So if you go to their website, sign up for their updates, they have webinars, they have luncheon webinars, there's an annual conference, there's all kinds of good stuff.
Did you say what that was again?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire Planners Association?
So is it NH, do you have to spell it out, or is it
No, if you did NHPA, it would probably show up in a Google search.
N as in Nancy, H as in Harold, P as in Paul? New Hampshire Planning,
Planners Association.
A. Okay.
So they have a good
Select.
luncheon series, things that you can, you don't have to go to in person, so you can just take a break and then they record them all, so you can watch them later. All right, March 6 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. We have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, any changes? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Oh, did we get enough ayes?
I'm an aye.
1, 2, 3.
You didn't have to be here.
I read it.
You read it. Did you say aye?
I said abstain.
Oh, you said abstain.
I can reverse
Would
that,
you,
though.
would you be willing to change your vote?
Aye.
Okay.
That helps.
This is
Okay.
it's a short one.
Yes, I
Okay.
see. I see.
All
I
right.
watched.
I know, it wasn't even a hearing. I mean,
So,
No, I watched.
okay. You're good. I want to mention, because the Housing Academy participation was on that. Those of you who went, did you get the email about getting the stipend?
I've already submitted them.
Okay.
Submitted the paperwork, and I've gotten a response from them. The check will be coming to the town of Brentwood, and then we will disperse it to those members.
Okay. Thank you.
Can
All
you
right.
clarify what that is? The stipend, how much, and which members are getting that?
So this was part of the grant that we received. There was an all-day housing academy and then some other meetings that go along with that. And the people who participated, I think it was $250.
That's correct.
And it's funded through the same grant program. So it doesn't come out of our funds, but
So does it go to the people or does it go to their
it goes to the people who
program?
went for volunteering for the day.
Okay,
There was 2 pretty much all-day events and then 2 webinars, which we gathered here and watched them.
that's wonderful. Great.
Yeah, it's been a great program. I think
Mhm.
it's probably, this is the last year.
Unclear.
Unclear.
It was,
But
we were-
it's
it was good. It was very good. I mean, there was some information. I mean,
If I was betting.
Right.
some of it I found a bit trivial, but if you hadn't been there before, you know, it'd be really good for you to freshen up on that. And there was some information that was very helpful
Yeah.
on how to interact with the public and get public support. And I found it pretty helpful.
Did you do the survey, Mark?
No, that.
It was good.
Mark, did you do the survey?
I did not take it yet. I've been busy. I got the email and just glanced at it, but I've been busy doing many other things.
including the next item.
We got more and more and more. It's more interesting as we go along today.
Letter from RCCD is the next.
Did you already
item.
pass the minutes? I'm sorry, did you already vote on
Yes,
the
we
minutes?
did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, March 18th letter. Rockingham County Conservation District witness test pits for a subdivision and found that the information that was provided to the planning board in October of 2023 was substantially incorrect, which is polite. So this is a subdivision that we approved on,
Like in 2023. It's been a while.
yeah,
It was the Sanborn subdivision
On Deer Hill
On
Road.
Deer
on
Hill.
Deer Hill. I can put up a, they haven't fixed this yet. It's still going through the process of being updated on the website.
so we approved a subdivision. There were test pits done as part of that plan, and the data that was submitted for said test pits was
Substantially.
substantially incorrect.
How was that
It's not
determined?
coming up. I'll find it manually. Hold on.
I believe Mike Cuomo just checked the recorded plan at the registry.
Did he have
So-
a suspicion about something being off, or what?
I'm not sure. And that, one of the things that, what I was gonna ask the board was for your authority for me to call Mike Cuomo and talk with him about it. He's expressed a willingness to do that. And so I would like to hear everything he has to say.
That he didn't put in the letter?
That he may have, yes, that he may not have fully detailed in the letter.
I did speak with them personally and brought it to Glenn, and we discussed it and felt that it'd be important for you to know this information, and we'll find out more information. And the good news is that the property is not restricted from having a house on it. It does, part of it does pass
Right.
the needed soils to have a septic system on it.
Exists.
But you need to be aware that this is an issue, and more details will follow. But the property is not restricted from not having a house on it, which is, that's a good thing.
That's, yeah.
That's a good thing.
Does-
It's not depicted quite right here, but you can remember this got a ZBA variance for 50-foot of frontage. So the property line runs down like this and kind of cuts right off here. And this is the subject property that we're talking about. It hasn't been updated on GIS survey yet.
Do we need to vote to have Glenn call them, or can we just casually discuss it?
Actually, I think I
I-
have something
I-
better.
Does
Make a
anybody
motion?
object?
Nope. Should we make a motion?
I don't think we need to vote
Okay.
on it.
Nope. Go
I mean,
for
if
it.
people, if there's disagreement, we can talk
I
it through,
think
but,
it's a good idea.
yeah. So who submitted the data on the plan that was substantially inaccurate?
That's the plan set.
Tim Lavelle.
He's deceased.
Okay. All right, well, keep us posted, but the good news is it doesn't prevent them from going
Correct.
forward
Mhm.
but they've brought this issue to our attention.
It doesn't invalidate the lot as being an unbuildable lot without the ability to have a septic system on it. It just,
Increases the amount of money that you're probably gonna have to spend to put a septic system on it. Because that's dependent upon the soils that you have, and what the soils that were depicted are vastly, vastly different.
but we don't care. That's not a planning board issue.
Right, do they need to come back to us and update
Nope.
anything?
No.
Nope.
Okay,
No.
then, okay. Alternate appointment slips. Oh, this is on my list. 3 Pond stop sign.
You want,
Oh, we can do
you
that,
want-
sorry.
well, have to talk to Brian first, if Brian wants to be an alternate or not. Yes, and we need to discuss terms, as in how long you want to make the term for.
That's standard.
Because I've looked at some of the other ones, and the portion of term expires or length of term is just not filled out, so. Okay, can you come to a microphone, sir? Thank you. I'm a stickler for microphones, so.
Actually, I'll refer to a previous comment that somebody said they were the oldest person here. You're not.
No, I said between he and I.
And he
Oh,
then,
oh,
he
okay,
pointed
all
at
right.
me.
He and I'm the older of the two, so it wasn't ageism that was rearing its ugly head there.
But to answer your question, I am, well, I'll tell you, I'm 77 years old, and I have not done as much vacationing as I'd like, and I'm going to start in the next month or so. And I don't want to fill a vacancy that someone else could do better. So how you want to handle that is up to you. I'll stay on, but I won't be participating nearly as much during the summer months, right up
Okay.
until October.
Okay,
If I'm here, I can, but if
Yeah.
if not, and if you get somebody else that wants to do it, and you have ample people, it looks like you're gonna have sufficient people to make your quotas now anyway, right?
yeah. Yeah, I think we've been pretty good. I think we only had one night where we were iffy on a quorum.
Yep.
But I think we have 5 alternate slots, so you're welcome to stay on, and
Okay,
we'll
I don't mind. doing
ping
that.
you, we'll call you if we're looking shy of a quorum.
I don't see a lot of alternates here, though.
No,
I mean, if you have 5 of them,
no, we have 5 slots,
There's-
so you're not,
oh,
you're
oh.
not taking
There
up.
there are 3 in the room right now.
And I might be going along with Brian on those vacations, so you might have a whole
Okay.
lot more.
That's fine. All right, and then as far as term goes, we don't have a standard?
Usually it's like, I think
Should
we,
be 3 years.
it should be 3
3
years.
Okay.
But they have them recorded as being 1 year, and that's why I'm coming to you now, as I was informed that these appointment slips are no longer valid, so I've had to
Okay.
redo. a
And
bunch
that
of
will
them.
make you 87?
Pardon?
That will make you 87 3 years from now?
Yeah, I
So
hope
should-
not.
Should I do
Maybe
this
less.
March 31st, 2028? To make it even?
25. That's fine. I don't really think I'm going anywhere. I just need to have you sign one of these, sir, so if you could just give me 1 second.
Yep, want to do it now?
I would prefer to, yes. Because what ends up happening is people run out of the room.
And Liz?
I think I'm gonna move to the zoning board, but I said to Mark I probably could go through the summer. My schedule's really iffy.
Yeah, I
so
don't
I'm-
think yours is up. either.
June.
Well, he gave
There's-
me the thing, and I
there's-
think
oh.
I,
Oh.
but I didn't start in June, so I don't know how that works.
Okay, just let us know.
I'm good for a while.
Yeah, I gave you one, but told you your appointment was up in June, and I didn't know if you wanted to do all these appointments at once, so we weren't so spread out.
Where are you going?
But you do you.
All right, 3 Pond stop sign?
Yeah,
What is
oh,
that?
yeah, so I was approached today from a resident of 3 Ponds, representing the homeowners association there. And here's a representation of 3 Ponds. And the circles that you see on here are the stop signs, okay? So when you drive into Three Ponds Drive, you have to stop here and then take a left and continue on to the back of the development. What they would like to do is move this stop sign here to this corner. So when you come around the circle, this is a stop sign as well. If you're coming around to the circle here, you have to stop, turn left or right. If you came, thank you, sir. If you came around this end of the circle, you'd have to stop, either continue straight or take a left to exit. I've approached the fire department. I've approached the police department. I've approached, who's left? The DPW. All of them do not have an issue. Here's the letter from Doty, from Chief. What I suggested was where the stop sign is right now, you put a hard left sign, not a yield sign, but a yellow sign that has a hook with an arrow that goes left. And Chief agrees to that. It's stated in the bottom part of his letter. I'll leave that up so you can read it. The fire department doesn't have a problem with it. Their words to me were, I'm surprised that stop sign's even there. And Wayne Robinson has no problem with it either. So I've approached all the departments to get a comment letter from them, and I wanted to approach you to see if I could get a comment letter from you as well. I'll end up taking this to the select board at some point, because that's ultimately where it'll end up. If you want to see some pictures.
Yeah.
They're in black and white. This is the stop sign as it exists now. So traffic enters from here and then takes a left and goes into the back of the development. The reason I want that hard left sign here is to try to protect some of these houses. It's not a high-speed area, but if you're unfamiliar with the neighborhood, it just gives better direction.
Yeah.
It lets you know that you're going to have to take a hard left here to continue on to the back of the development.
What are the roads, Mark?
Huh?
What are the roads? The intersection?
This is Three Ponds Drive? This is at a different angle?
And that's down and back.
Yeah, so you'd come, this stop sign would be eliminated. It would be put on the corner right here. So when you're traveling this direction, you'd have to stop and then turn here and proceed out of the development. This would be turned into a yellow sign with a hard left marker on it.
And the rationale for this?
I think
Most of the
it gives
traffic
better
goes-
flow to traffic, so you can come into the development and flow right through it to the back. I think the residents right in this pocket here have to listen to people stop and start, stop and start, stop and start. So if you can just continually move through the development continuously without having to stop and start, makes for better flow.
I don't understand that
And-
at all.
And the request came from the homeowners association, not a resident, but the.
Nope, he represents the homeowners association. So a couple of departments just pointed him in my direction. So,
Do we own that road yet?
I'm sorry?
Do we own that road yet?
Not the back portion of it, no.
Okay.
Not yet. We have a
I table
sidewalk.
it.
We-
I'm not on this up there, sorry.
This isn't something we normally get involved in.
No, this is either a community interest issue or a public safety issue.
Yeah.
Neither of which the planning board are involved with after we have approved a subdivision that had signage approved.
Okay. Xing out?
But it's just
Just say no.
interesting to eliminate a stop sign. I am surprised by that.
Who put the stop sign there to begin with? We did
Could have
not.
been the developer.
Right. They made that determination based on some information they had.
Yeah.
It's
So-
not our purview, just let's
I think
move on.
I think it was by phase.
Phase.
The phases of the development. I'm not sure.
It's not our purview.
If it's
though.
not,
So, if nobody has, does anybody have any objections? Can we just
leave
No,
it
I
there.
was never here.
No, okay.
I have objections. It makes no sense to me. Your normal inclination is to go right. I take the other stop sign out or I'd make a cross.
So we're not voting on it or anything,
Okay.
so if it's gonna come up in front of the select board,
I'll eventually take
You
it to the
can-
select board.
voice your
I
opposition
can't
there.
wait.
Sounds good.
I have two of them in my eyesight right now.
Closely related topic, we have a site walk, April 5th. Right? Is that what everybody had agreed last time? Okay.
I did that last week because
Okay.
there's a
'Cause you can't-
possibility.
you're not gonna be here.
Right. But I'll email it, after everybody's got their opinion.
Okay.
I
All right.
will not be here.
Okay. Can you make
Yeah.
it?
I can make it.
You can make it?
3 Ponds.
Clubhouse, 9 a.m., April 5th.
I'm planning
9
on
a.m.
there,
9
Billy.
o'clock.
You can bring,
9 a.m. at the clubhouse.
Double stroller.
and you
Yay.
bring it.
If you guys don't mind shrieking
You'll
when they're together. This
We enjoy
notice it.
Oh, I thought you would be shrieking.
Public notice.
You mean the children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You- Yeah.
Yeah,
It has-
that just needs to go up on the website.
Okay.
You don't need to set, who do you send it to?
We had a member of the public at our last site walk. Just FYI.
Can I just ask what it's for, this sidewalk?
The next phase of the road is complete, and they want us to look at it before we make a recommendation one way or the other for the town to accept it.
I did reach out to the developer's engineer. He may or may not be there,
Well, that's committal.
isn't it? Well, that's
It-
that's
it
what
w-
I got for an answer.
It would be helpful.
That's what I said.
To have
Can we
somebody there
strongly encourage
walk us through.
them?
I can only tell you,
We could reschedule for a future date when they're
We could.
available.
If they can't make it. we
observe
can
and
res-
report, sir. Observe and report.
All right.
Now, I did hear Wayne talk about that back side of 3 Ponds and how difficult it was with the plow
Plowing.
trucks. I'm assuming that we signed off on that as a planning board, so we probably have no way we can go back on this?
On what?
He was at our last site walk, and I thought he was okay with it
He
up.
said that it's so
there.
tight down there that that's why he needed the loader, in order to be able to maybe clear up areas down there, because he couldn't swing it with the wings on the plow truck.
It's the problem is the stacking and the snow in the middle.
Yeah.
He told them that they could push their snow from their driveways out into
The
the
road
roadway.
meets the guidelines.
If you took your-
Sidewalk is
if you-
warranted.
If you took your snow that's in your driveway and pushed it onto your property, then it
Mhm.
wouldn't be an issue.
So the site walk
So
is
that-
to look at what's been installed. The plan itself was approved, I don't know, in several years before me. So no, we can't go back on what was approved then. But he did come to the last site walk, so hopefully you'll let him know.
I can.
Thank you. Because he walked through with us and things. Okay, we have Housing Forum, May 15th. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and ideas about getting people to come. I think we're going to have a lot of support from Resilience in terms of the content and the organization and posters and
I don't understand we have what forum?
housing.
Housing forum.
Yeah, so this is with Resilience Design, the group that's working with us with our grants. So this is part of what they're doing for us, having a public forum, getting input on ideas before we get too far in terms of those ideas, to give people some concepts to talk about. And it's only going to be successful if people come. So we talked a little bit about, you're going to check, Mark, on the rec center to make sure that we can have it there. Did we set a time?
5 to 7.
That's what I remember. 5 to 7.
That's what I understood.
That's what I'm like,
And it's a
Tuesday.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Th-
Can't be Tuesday, that's select board.
It's a Thursday. Yeah, it's a, um,
Oh,
Thursday.
May 15th.
Can you
May
repeat the
15th.
date, please?
May 15th, Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m.
Oh, I
Um,
thought we originally had it April 15th.
So,
So you may want to double check that time.
okay,
I may be incorrect because originally I thought we had April 15th at 5 to 7.
I put it in my calendar for 5 to 7.
You did?
in May.
May,
May,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to get it before school gets out, but give ourselves a little bit of time to plan. We do have money in the budget. I forget how much, like $500 or something to get food. But start thinking about your personal networks, other groups you're in town, other people you know, and spread the word. I think one-to-one invites is probably going to be the best way to get people to come and help people understand that this is really an open community discussion.
Important.
Yep.
Microphone, sir.
Can you just fill me in on what this meeting is about?
Yes.
I'm
Yep. Yeah, so it's, you can kind of think about it like an open house. So we have a grant right now to look at some of our housing ordinances, some areas that were probably out of compliance at the state level, so we need to proactively fix, and some things that in the last few years that as we've done community surveys and heard from people about some things that we think we can do better, make some adjustments. It's accessory dwelling units, multifamily, and blanking on the word.
Mixed use.
Mixed use.
Tiny house.
And so we have a group that's working on developing draft ordinances for those things, but we want to have people from the community involved in the process so that we're not just sitting here coming up with things and sending it out, but people have an opportunity to give input. We did a housing survey, so we've done some of this already, where people had could look at photographs and compare, A and B, what do you like better, rank things, talk about where in town they'd let, we don't want to see any more development in this area. There was a lot of more support for things along 125, that kind of thing. Workforce housing is the fourth one, and that's the one where there's a state law. And if you look at our ordinances, there's a question as to whether we are compliant with the state law, which puts us at risk for some things.
Is there a question? There is a question.
So we need to address that at minimum. So this is going to be, what we were thinking is maybe some poster stations around the room with some images and pictures and ideas, and folks from that organization there to answer questions. And, we want interaction. We want people to, and honestly, what I really want at this point in this community is to have a civil, sharing of information and ideas, and really hear what people want with, before we get too far into the process and have people, sort of automatically object to things. So that's the plan. And we need people to come.
Thank you.
Just don't call it a charrette.
Those are the 4 items that really we're concentrating on right there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And part of the Housing Academy that some people went to, part of that was learning about public engagement and how do you, what can we do to more actively get people involved. So bring those ideas back and let us know. I mean, I think we're going to lean pretty heavily on resilience to organize, but
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read these yet, I just sent them out to you, and I'm sure you haven't either.
They just came in today.
Correct.
Or did they come in yesterday?
Maybe it was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
So,
It all runs together.
so I think resilience is going to have the responsibility for the content and setting up and being there and being the experts. Our job, a lot of it is going to be to get people to come. And we know this is a really important issue for people. This is kind of, you know, Glenn has said before, we're never going to have this opportunity again to have this kind of assistance from somebody like that. So we want to take advantage of it, and we want to get this right.
Are we utilizing the newsletter to get this out?
Yes, so we already submitted, thank you, Mark, the first of a series of articles. Well, there's not that much time, but a couple of articles ahead of the event.
I find it hard to invite people if I don't know what I'm inviting people to, really. I don't have a sense of.
Yeah, well, and they're going to do a postcard for us, and they'll have other things that we can post online, so you'll be able to point to something.
Great.
Yeah. This is the first article that we've sent out.
Do we have any other business?
I'm sorry?
Do we have any other business tonight? Motion to adjourn?
Well, I just have
Well,
one-
we're in the middle of, this is like a really good
Oh, I thought it
discussion.
was-
I'd like
yeah.
to continue it if you don't
Oh,
mind.
okay, yeah.
Thank
and,
you.
And I just had one very brief thing before
Yeah.
we close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, bye-bye.
See you, Brian.
Good night. Good night.
So anything else on the housing forum? Big night
No,
for
yeah,
the
if
planning board.
anybody wants to really learn what this is about and be involved with this, show up to our work session, April 3rd, 5 o'clock.
Any possibility of getting a couple of posters, one at Lindy's and one at the library? Will Resilience be able to do that?
For the work session, sir?
For the May 15th.
May 15th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would think so.
I'm hoping to get some content or context, or
I would think
I'll
so.
be more than
Yeah.
happy to print or do, that's all at the behest of you guys. I can't make up that content myself. That has to be a joint effort.
Your
You-
kids could color them.
You,
Freddie and I call them.
you,
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to say hi from Freddie.
Okay, very good.
you did ask them about making a postcard though, right? And they said that's
Yes.
something they could do, so.
But I
we can make
discussed
it.
that with them. They were very amenable to it.
So we can make that poster size.
I know. I have to look through. It might be in some of the content of those.
So yeah, so next meeting, right? That's next meeting, April 3rd?
That is the next meeting.
What's that?
That is the next
Yeah.
meeting.
So we moved that up to 5 o'clock to be a work session with Resilience so that all of their team can come. So,
I will not be here.
and I know there's another event in town that night. Unfortunately, we're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to do both, but, so please be here, 5 PM, April 3rd. All right. Was there something else on that? No, okay. Doug.
So I just had one quick thing before we close, and Doug has been in the loop about it, and Kristen, I let you know about it. So RPC, we had a meeting last week, and so our improvements to 125 made it into the 10-year plan, which is terrific. TAC put us at number 2 and the Plastow project at number 1. And I talked to Tim about it after the meeting to just kind of get an explanation as to why we're number 2 behind Plastow. And the explanation that he gave, and I think that there is a need for maybe some more clarity here because I'm not totally clear on it yet.
I was there. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, because he was saying that he thinks that our project will still very much be on schedule because we're going to be eligible for certain grants and things of that nature. But I still haven't really gotten the specifics from him. So I don't know if Steph, you have more info on that.
Yeah. So what happened was RPC selects a handful of projects to have their consultant prepare cost estimates for, based on the TAC and possibly the policy committee voting on the top 10 projects or something. They had a consultant prepare an estimate. Based on those estimates, TAC voted on the top like 3 projects that they wanted funded, because RPC only has like 8 million in funding to work with, and that 8 million doesn't go very far. It could only fund 2 to 3 projects. So the Brentwood project was number 1, and they were able to also fund the Plastow project and maybe one other. New Hampshire DOT takes a look at those estimates and evaluates them and adjusts them based on their data and their thoughts on the project, also adds inflation. Their estimate nearly doubled what the consultant had, which ate up a much larger chunk of that 8 million. So the TAC was a little bit shell-shocked by that, and we're like, well, we're not sure how we feel about this. Despite my best attempts at advocating, I think this was the best outcome we were going to have. They were also considering just jettisoning it altogether.
Oh.
So convinced them to keep it on the list. And basically, we're now funding more than the 8 million we have by borrowing against future funding, with the hope that the Brentwood project may receive grant funding to kind of offset that. And not to be pessimistic at all, but the way things have been going lately with some of the federal grant programs, there's, you know, of course, new administrations, they have different priorities. Some of these grant programs are, it's going to be, yeah, they're a little up in the air. So I guess we'll have to wait and see if the one they were thinking this one would be good for was the Safe Streets for All.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the future of that is going to be. It sounds like people are optimistic about it, but there may just be different like focuses and metrics considered. So
That's really helpful. Thank you.
yeah.
So does the RPC get involved in the funding part as far as applying for grants?
They'll help communities. I think sometimes
That's what
they
they do.
apply for grants for their own work, but like for specific communities, I think it has to be led by the community and they will provide support. At least that's my understanding.
Kristen, your microphone's off. Yeah.
What kind of time horizon? I know it's a 10-year plan, but things are fluid.
Yeah, my impression is that it's very fluid, but is
Yeah,
based on budgetary constraints,
But-
and this is a bad budget year.
this will be, about, 8 to 10 years out as of now. However, with the Counselor Stevens being focused on this corridor, she may be able to pull some political sway and move it up. Sometimes projects fall out of the tip for whatever reason, so if there's another project ready to slot in, it can move up. It changes a lot, and sometimes it's just pure politics. Things get shifted around.
And Counselor Stevens has been very responsive.
Yeah,
to
she's
us on this.
quite an advocate for us,
It seems to me it's a constant struggle between the state and the TAC.
always.
And they keep changing, and it's just a tug of war, and
Well, it's a tug of war, but the money is the state's, so
yeah,
they win.
they win. Yeah.
This is all just advisory,
they
right?
win.
Like it's
Mhm.
it's the region saying these are our priorities, but then the state,
And
it's up to the
the
state.
RPC's been saying for a while they would love DOT to enlighten them as to their process on how they come up with these numbers, because this keeps happening and it's not just their consultant. Like my company does that consulting work for other RPCs, and it's happened to projects we've done estimates on too. Like just all the RPCs deal with this, and like, could you guys just share what your process is so we don't have this problem every time? But that has yet to happen. So it's always like, surprise, you have less funding than you thought.
So we'll keep everybody in the loop there. But thank you, Steph, for your advocacy.
Yeah,
and,
thank you for
thank
bringing it up. I kind of didn't
That's
think
valuable.
We're specifically
It's valuable information.
talking about the South Road.
South Road.
That's right.
Yeah,
125.
exactly.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
The roundabout,
And
We've had a bunch of
re-
activity,
Yeah, restructuring it.
right, restructuring.
a bunch of inquiries about that
better term.
property.
Do you like that word, restructure?
Restructure.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. We've had a bunch of inquiries about that property right on the corner. And that's what I've been telling people. It's one on the tack and it's on the 10-year plan. So, but now I need to kind of backpedal that a little bit.
It's on the 10-year plan. It's number 2.
Yep.
Yeah, but
It's still
a possibility.
on it.
It's
yeah.
still a possibility. Not as much of a possibility as I thought.
When you're on the 10-year plan and you're in year 8 and 9, it's a freaking crapshoot.
Yeah.
And,
But-
and it can change drastically
Yeah.
from year 8 to
Yeah.
when you become year 4, and then you get pushed off to year 12. So
Yep.
just
But
constantly
going-
advocating for it is
Yeah.
the best thing to do.
Squeaky wheel.
Which
In
is
this squeaky
which
wheel.
is good because a few years ago we had nobody on the RPC and we
That's
had
right.
nothing on the plan.
That's right.
And then look how far we've come.
Yeah.
So
If you need me
Thank
to
you,
go
guys.
back, Steph, we'll go back. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think you were probably more persuasive than me. Tried my best. I put my mark hat on.
did we need to do any non-public? Do we have any further updates on that issue? Nope. Okay.
One thing,
What's that?
one thing.
Yeah.
I want to thank Steph. She approached the select board. If you want to talk about the grant.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know if you guys remember a few months ago, I shared a memo I put together about grant programs I was kind of keeping an eye on, that some of them I thought Brentwood could have a shot of applying for them. And we narrowed it down to one program that we thought would have the best chances of receiving funding for. And I've been helping the town's part-time grant writer. She took the lead on putting the application together, and I just provided technical assistance. We're pursuing grant funding for, it's the Rural and Tribal Assistance Pilot Program. It's a federal grant program providing funding for transportation projects in rural and tribal areas, and Brentwood qualifies as rural based on population. It's seeking funding to fund a feasibility study looking into connecting key town assets like the library, the school, the rec. Kind of it all came out of the charrette a few years ago. There's a desire for connecting those facilities with bicycle and or pedestrian infrastructure, as well as looking, as part of the study, they look at crossing 125 at the rec. Again, both for bicycles and pedestrians, but also looking at that entrance overall for vehicular access too, because there's concerns about safety there. The idea it would be a study looking at potentially 3 or more alternatives for each. It'd be kind of like 2 parts. One would be connecting them, and then another focus would be the crossing area. The ultimate deliverable would be a report, some conceptual drawings, cost estimates, and ultimately recommendations. And I think I would envision the consultant in conjunction with the town, after some public input, would come up with a result in a preferred alternative, with the idea that the town could then use that to move forward with, if the town wished, pursuing additional grants. A lot of the grant programs, you need to have your scope nailed down a little better than what we have now. We have an idea that we need better connectivity, but we don't know what we want. So this would be a way to nail that down, get a little more detail, have a better idea of the scope of work that you could then hire a consultant to do a design, have a better idea of costs. So yeah, but we're seeking $300,000 in funding. It's this federal grant program has no local match requirement, which is great. A lot of them do, which can be challenging if there's not a lot of community support. Then there's no point in pursuing it. But this one, the way I see it, there's no downside. If we win the grant, we can do the study. The town has no financial obligation. If we wanted to move forward to the next step and pursue a grant that did have a local match, then there'd need to be a vote or, you know, some way to confirm town support. But for now, we could take it to the next step. So the board voted to approve us submitting the application. They were gracious enough to let me jump in at the last second on an already busy night because the grant program application timeframe opened on Tuesday, and it's a first come, first serve. So if we waited another week, our chances of possibly receiving funding would be out the window.
So the board you went to was the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
I would say you did a very nice job, Stephanie.
Thanks.
Because it was difficult, it being our first meeting as a new board.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll be perfectly honest, I was not educated one iota as to the plan or the project. So for future reference, and, you know, there may have been with the previous board some, you know, information that may have been transmitted, not something that I really knew, you know, about. So I would just ask in the future that there be a little more advance notice, because I was, it was a little bit uncomfortable, just having to deal with it at the last second like that. But having said that, you know, I appreciated that there was no downside risk to this, and you know, moving forward, I felt if it was something that came through, you know, then it would certainly require you know, significant public involvement and input into the process, because I think there are a lot of people out there that would have, you know, strong opinion and feeling about it, and it wouldn't be something that we would pursue until we felt that that was something the community did want.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
the scope in at least in the application, we outlined what we thought the scope of work would be, had a really robust kind of public engagement task. And speaking to the last minute and not being aware of it, I apologize. The grant
It's
writer
not-
and myself
you don't have to
had been-
apologize. It's not. I don't think it was your fault.
We'd been in touch with the town manager like since December, so I just assumed we were good. I should have double checked. I didn't realize we needed to kind of go before the select board, or would have tried to make arrangements sooner. That was like, I thought we were good to go, and Andrea had emailed on that day like, oh, we need to wait a week. Oh, okay, I would have tried to get ourselves on the agenda way sooner if I knew that was in the
That would have been
cards.
probably better, but as I said, it being the first meeting of a new board, it was you know, one of those things that was difficult, but we did deal with it, and that, you know, I'm appreciative of that. There doesn't seem to be a downside risk
Yeah.
to it.
No, it's free engineering.
Yeah, free
And-
money.
And that's important that everybody know that. There's zero obligation. You don't have to put any money into this. It's free engineering. It's a free study. You can do with it what you will afterwards.
You can just put it on the shelf.
You have nothing to, you have everything to, you have something to gain and nothing to lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, I think the reaction you might get, I don't think of it as free, right? Because
Right.
people will say like that
Nothing in life
money
is
came
free.
from somewhere.
Right.
True.
Nothing in
But
life is free.
Sure.
It's not a direct outlay for the town. And if we don't do something like this, we'll never have those options. Like you know, everything's still kind of very conceptual. And people have said, we'd like to improve something, but until you have something more tangible, which it sounds like
Yeah.
this will give us, it's really hard to have a conversation about what people want.
Yeah, like
So
for
you have that.
example, the TAC, when towns submit projects for the 10-year plan, RPC doesn't even consider projects that don't have an estimate tied to it. That's prepared by a professional. So right now, with our kind of vague idea of, you know, having connectivity, not like we're ready to submit for a project to the 10-year plan, but if we wanted to, we just don't have a developed enough plan to have them even consider it.
Yeah, I just think it's important for the select board to put out there that this is not something that the select board is going forward with and proceeding with. It would be something that the select board would, and I would, you know, as chair, require, you know, absolute, you know, town involvement and to, you know, figure out what, you know, the community ultimately, you know, wanted in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we win.
When do you find out?
I don't know if they gave a timeline. These things usually take at least a few months. I'll read the notice of funding opportunity and see if they gave a specific date. Let you know.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Steph.
Um,
Anything else?
Would now be an appropriate time to make a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Second?
So moved.
Would you come up to the mic, please?
Did you second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, please turn off.
You're off.